Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Backstage Bikini podcast with your hosts, Grace and Jade. And we are welcoming a, two-time returning now guest to do this pro show review. So, of course, we had the penultimate Pittsburgh Pro this last weekend. So we've come on to review the show, recap the results, discuss the athletes, because this lineup was absolutely stacked. This was probably the closest to an Olympia lineup that I've seen. But of course, we couldn't not invite Marnie on to the podcast to discuss it, having been there herself in the flesh last year. So Marnie, hello, welcome back. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone. Hello, ladies. Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks, obviously, for asking me to come back. It's crazy because when we last recorded was before I won my pro card, which,
I know.
yeah, it's just so much has
And since
changed.
then you've done the Pittsburgh Pro. It's like, what a year it's been.
I know. Like, do you know what? It's so funny because when I was watching the live stream as well, it gave me all the feels, and obviously I know how it feels to walk out on that stage. That stage specifically, it's actually quite daunting. It's not like any other stage I've kind of seen or been on. Obviously, I've not been on the Arnold or the Olympia stage, but the whole auditorium is very much like blacked out, and the judges are so far away from you. So it's like, I've said this to people before, it's like you're looking into the abyss. Like you almost like can't see the crowd, you can't see the judges really. It just feels like there's a spotlight on you. So it's very, like definitely an amazing experience to compete there. And obviously the media coverage and the people who are actually at the venue as well. Everybody flies in to Pittsburgh for that show. So yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah.
Biggie.
And you were up on, it was on at the nighttime, weren't you? Because I remember looking at your stories next morning. I think I went to bed early and you had like posted all of it. Like you're one of the biggest super fans.
So last year the show Bikini was split between Friday and Saturday, whereas this year it was just a one-day show. So I think that's quite interesting as well, obviously, because it's quite difficult for us to obviously peak 2 days back to back. But the girls who competed on the Saturday when I did it last year, it was just the top 10 that came back for finals. But yeah, we were on quite late in the day, so there's that to contend with as well. But yeah, absolutely amazing experience. And one I'll never forget, like to do my US pro debut there is like nuts. So
I mean, it's ballsy. It is ballsy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like going into the Shark Tank and saying, right, give me what I need, because this is where I want to be, so give me the feedback I need. And there's no place better. I mean, Tyler judged this show, didn't he? And did he judge you last year as well, Marnie?
Yeah, so in Pittsburgh, I think, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that it's like the only show outside of the Olympia where you have a full panel of Olympian judges.
Olympian, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
You know, you get like Steve Weinberger, Sandy's there, Tyler, Ettela, off the top of my head, I can't remember who else, but obviously very, very well-respected judges. In sport, and it's, you know, you're against the best of the best there as well. I got to stand next to Amy Delgado, I got to stand next to Ashley. Obviously I was not in the mix, but I think again it really helped me to identify the gaps in my physique against the girls who are doing the best, which is what you want.
Motivation as well, just to be up there and be like, right, next time I come back I want to stand out, you know, I want to be in the mix as well. That's what you want.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
It's also a no-brainer. Like if you do, like I know Kirsty Taylor from the UK went over, like why not do that? I think when you win your pro card, like throw yourself. And I remember when I saw you do it last year in the New Year Pro, I was like, go for it. Like that's what shows are there for. You know, it's been a dream to win your pro card. So like go compete with the best. So it's amazing Kirsty over there do that.
Yeah, totally. When she told me she was going out, I was like, oh, no way. Like, again, I got all the feels. And she looked absolutely incredible. Can we just give her a shout out? Like,
huge.
We'll come to it. I know we'll come to it, but she has got so much wow factor. Like, just very, very like striking look on stage, and it's been amazing for me to help her like with her posing routine this year as well. And you know, she obviously did a couple of shows beforehand. She did the One Bro Pro and made some tweaks going into Pittsburgh, and yeah, it was really good to see her on the live stream as well. So yeah.
It was nice to have UK representation out there again this year as well, because obviously I know Phoebe Hagen's taken a little time, and obviously you're well, yes, you are in prep. You have disclosed that, haven't you?
Yeah, you can see I'm on the diet.
Okay. I panicked. My heart. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's public knowledge. But yeah, obviously. So it's nice, like knowing obviously we've got UK athletes coming through, and you'll be competing later on in the year. But it's nice to have a presence at that show and those shows. And obviously you were representing us last year. So it's so nice to see our girls up there. It's so nice.
I definitely think there's more of us now that are starting to like branch out and go across to the US. It was always like something that I wanted to do. Like when I kind of set my goal of turning pro, for me, it wasn't so much about having a status. It was more like I want to be able to get on those big stages and stand next to people that I've literally idolized for years. And it's kind of like, okay, well, you've won your pro card now. You've got the opportunity to be able to do that. So I don't want to shy away from it. And that's why I went straight in there. I was riding a high, I think, though. It was only 4 weeks later. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, this, you know, when we spoke to Jake last, like, and we were saying just before we started the podcast, is like, this is just so different for you this season. Like you were carrying a lot of fatigue, like you were prepping for a long time. I remember when you started, I remember you texted me saying that you started working with Jake. It was like September or something. And then you were still competing like 8-9 months later. Like that's going to be totally different. Like just a fresher you overall. And just having that experience as well. Like, so it's exciting to see you.
Yeah. I think as well, like obviously we've ended up talking about me, and I know this is not.
Well, we wanted to get you on anyway, so the listeners can wait.
It's all one and the same.
Yeah. But you know, again, I'm sure people like might be interested or want to learn from this. But I definitely think, you know, last year we peaked for the pro qualifier, and the shows that I did after that were on borrowed time, you could say. Like by the time I got to New York, like there was a lot of tears that were shared, and I was kind of like open about that as well on Instagram as well, because you know I did feel quite burnt out, and there was a lot of emotion there as well, like the highs and the coming back down from the adrenaline, and do you know what I mean? It was a lot. And again, an amazing experience. But when I analyze my photos from like the Ben Weider and the One Bro Pro versus like New York, I do look flat, and like I got leaner, but it was kind of like that, like, how do I describe it?
The fatigue, isn't it? It's like the stringy almost, like, not to say you look stringy, but your body starts to run in a fashion where you just can't replenish it. Like no matter how hard you try, you can't freshen that look up because it's just exhausted. So you're just fighting it at that point because all it wants is fuel. And because you're putting it in, it's soaking it up. Yeah.
You're like, I need this energy to survive. It's not going to my muscles. That's the important thing.
It doesn't hold it anywhere. It doesn't sit in the muscle belly the same way it would when you're a little bit fresher, because your body's that depleted. It's like, you've just given me food. I'm ransacking that. When's the next? It's so much harder to get yourself to a point where you feel and look refreshed without having a practical amount of time to actually recover.
Yeah, totally. Like if Jake watches this, he will laugh at what I'm about to say, but he literally will never ever call me flat. Like he's like, oh, like we're sending pictures in the gym and I haven't trained yet and I'm fasted. He's like, oh yeah, like, have you got a pump? And I'm like, no, I haven't even trained yet. Like he always thinks that I like look full and bubbly. And that for me, like I do think that is one thing about my physique that is probably a strong point, especially because of how short I am as well. Kind of need that shape to make me stand out, especially against taller girls. But yeah, when I was in Pittsburgh and New York, like that definitely wasn't the look that I had to my physique anymore. Like my legs were getting leaner, but I didn't have that pop. You know what I'm talking about? That like 4D pop. So yeah, I'm looking forward to actually peaking for a pro show this year.
Yeah, as in like that being the end goal, as in like that's the peak.
Yeah.
Rather than it just being on you
Not
go.
going into a regional and seeing where I am, and then like coming in for a pro qualifier, like peaking for a pro show, getting some feedback, and then doing some more pro shows after that, you know. So yeah.
So exciting. Any other updates before we get into it? I'm like, we need a separate one with Marnie, but no other updates. What was your feedback last year after that? Did you get feedback from the show last year, Pittsburgh Pro?
Yeah, so I got feedback from the One Bro Pro show, and then I think it's really interesting because for those of you guys that remember that show, you guys did a review of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember
we did, yeah.
Shout out. Yeah.
Yeah.
The girls who placed above me, I came fourth in the One Bro Pro show. They all had much, much, much more dense muscle, particularly in the glute department.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually got feedback from Maz, like, as soon as I came off stage, and he said, like, you know, you don't want to develop too much muscle there because it won't look right on your frame.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, he said, you know, you do hang with the pros and like presentation wise, it's very good, but you know, like, just be careful. Like, you don't want to go away and pack on loads of size and then you almost like it's too much. Which I think is something that it's definitely been on my mind about, you know, what's too much, what's not enough, and like that fine line of bikini at the pro level. But when I was in the States, again, I take my feedback with a pinch of salt because, again, I don't think it was like my best look. I was on borrowed time, but Sandy actually said my posing needs work, which 100% agreed in Pittsburgh. I was so nervous because I was the first one out on stage as well. So
I remember watching you and thinking, Jesus
but like
Christ.
being the first one out in general, like that is tough.
If you watch the video of like the initial numericals, I obviously am the first one to come out, and I'm like all the way at the end of the stage on my own, and everyone else is in the middle, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh, yeah, but those are things like you're not going to get wrong this year. No, you have to do it.
No.
It was just completely like uncharted territory. Like, I just did not know what to expect at all, and that's why I'm so glad that I did it, even though it was very ballsy. And I look back at myself from last year and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking, like, doing that show? Like, I'm glad I did, because now I'm like, okay, I've got a bit more insight, and I'm not just like going in off an improvement season for a pro debut being like,
deer in headlights.
So yeah, that was my feedback from Sandy, but both Sandy and Tyler said to me, like, just upper outer glute.
And
a bit tighter in my midsection, but again, like, I was so nervous that my physique, I was so lean when I got off the flight, leanest I had been all prep. Like, I think I dropped 2 kilos after the flight as well. Like, I didn't retain any water, but as the day went on, because I was jet lagged as well and I was getting very nervous, that cortisol starts going in and your physique starts to change. And so I didn't look as crispy by the time I got on stage, which is a shame. But again, it's one of those, like, the only way that you can combat stage nerves is by getting on stage.
And you've literally got on two of the biggest, you know, like Pittsburgh and New York. Like, you don't get much bigger than that in terms of pro shows outside of the Arnold and the Olympia. You don't. So getting up there and putting yourself in that shark tank straight away, nothing can be as scary as that now.
Yeah, well, I know
the Olympia, maybe.
You'll find something.
Apart from the Olympia.
When I'm practicing my routine now, well, I've always done this. I've always been a big visualizer, and like when I'm practicing, I practice like I'm performing on stage, and I have to really think about what I'm gonna see when I'm posing. And when I think about it now, it like starts to set in again of like, because I remember how it was last year. So, you know, I think it's just something that's going to take time for me to get over as well, because again, these shows in America, like, it doesn't matter which one you do. It's like, it's this thing in my head, I think, of like, it's a US pro show. Like, they're all big. Do you know what I mean? That it's so different to like what we have here. So, yeah.
Oh, insane. No, well, it was amazing to watch you do it, to be honest, Marnie. And it's, like I said, having the UK representation out there, and it, like I said, it takes some balls to get up there. It really does. And looking at the lineup that we had this weekend just gone, Like there was 14 Olympians in this lineup out of 20. Was it 20 or 22? 14 Olympians. And you stood next to a handful of them last year. It's just wild. So the caliber of athlete that you're coming up against, and we'll get into the actual review with the weekend, but the caliber of athlete that you're coming up against, you can't get much better.
Yeah.
So why not pit yourself against them? Because that way then you know exactly what you're taking away and what you're doing to go back and put yourself straight back in the lineup. So yeah, it's ballsy, but I just think it's the best way to do it. It's the only way. It's the only way to know where you sit.
It's all about, you know, building a name for yourself as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want anyone who's listening for that to kind of come across as like, oh, like
popularity contest.
Because you're a somebody, you're going to place better. That's not what I mean at all. What I mean by that is the judges like to obviously get to know you as an athlete and see where your strengths and weaknesses are. And they want to see you come back improved on those bits of feedback that they've given you. And because I've not been in front of a huge variation of American judges, I've been judged by Maz, I've been judged by Jack Sullivan, and obviously now Sandy Tyler. You know, it's important for me to keep getting back in front of them, and that's what I mean by building a name for myself and earning my stripes as a pro, because it is a process.
100%. 100%. And it takes time. It takes time. You'll do it.
Yeah.
Right, let's run through
show.
Everybody's waiting.
So I remember looking at the girls that were registering for this show, thinking, holy, like Ariana Brothers, Britt, Ashley, Amy.
Yeah, it was anybody's game.
I was just like, what on earth is going to go on here?
Yeah.
Like, what on earth? Maria Acosta as well. Like, I love that girl's physique. But no. Did you have any like sort of expectations, either one of you? Like, did you have anybody pegged for it? Amy's just, she's got my heart 90% of the time, or 99.9% of the time. But did anybody have any like predictions going into the show?
Do you want to go first, Grace?
I'm such a big fan of Amy as is. I think with Ashley, like we say it all the time in these reviews, like she could get it either, but it just depends on the day how they're peak. I know she's made incredible progress the last while, especially in her upper body. So yeah, it was kind of like a battle of the glutes, but Amy just kind of takes it for me, and I think she's picking up like such momentum this year, and she's obviously doing the New York Pro as well, and like she probably will get top 3. So I think she just keeps getting better and better. So that, I didn't really have anybody else. Alison Testu was somebody I was keeping an eye on, obviously, because of the other shows she had done. I think she placed like top 5 in the Clash. Was that it?
Yeah, I think
definitely
she came 3rd or 4th, didn't she?
I was going to say, was it 4th? Maybe, I'm not sure.
So I thought maybe, you know, with her coming over again, that she might catch the judge's eye, but she didn't place very well in this show at all, which was kind of disappointing. But look, it just goes to show the level standard there as well. Marnie?
Yeah, I'm gonna shout out some people. Vanya was top of my list.
Yeah.
I knew, because I think when I saw her at the UK Arnold, I just think as well, I think she's had quite a long process again of that building her stripes as a pro, and I just think her physique is balanced. Her presentation is out of
her posing gives me goosebumps. My God.
So
posing incredible.
She was definitely someone that I knew was kind of going to be in the mix. I just didn't really know where, but I knew she was going to be up there. Trying to think who else. The other person again, like you've mentioned there, Grace. I think I really love Ashley's physique since she's come back from that break. When she competed at the Girl Power show, I was like, wow, like I think she looks really, really good with like she's got. Specifically to her upper body. I know Tyler's obviously done his kind of breakdown video and talking about her fullness and the improvement she's made to her upper body and how balanced she is now. But I mean, she's always gonna be in the mix, isn't she? It's Ashley.
What is it gonna take? She is the girl. Yeah, she
It
really
was interesting actually as well to see her and Amy side by side, because I know Tyler's commented on it as well, because there is still rumination around Amy being too big for Bikini. But if you look at their back shots in particular, so
Yeah.
like take the structure away from it, because we know that Amy structurally is much wider clavically and like in terms of her like glute depth compared to the likes of Ashley. But if you actually look at them front and back, specifically from the back, their frames and their muscle, so the size of their legs, for example, they're almost identical. Like she's simply just not too big for Bikini. I don't know
No.
when people are going to drop it. This girl's 5 foot as well. Like it's going to look more compact and dense. She's
I've been
5'1".
stood next to her. I was gonna say I've been stood next to her, like literally in the lineup backstage, and like
Yeah.
you don't look at Amy and think, oh, she's like borderline a wellness comp. Like it's just not like that. And I think again, watching these girls in the flesh, it just tells a completely different story. And when you then watch the live stream with that insight, you kind of realize those things a bit more. Like, don't get me wrong, like, yes, these girls have muscle. And it's like what we were just talking about, obviously, before we started recording. It's like, I think that some people are still a little bit confused as to like what's not enough for the bikini division and what's too much, and the lines are a little bit blurred. Not so much with the criteria that's been set, but I think with people who are coming into the sport or trying to like build their physique. So
And you know what I was thinking? I was thinking about this, like maybe too deep, but like there's an element, people have their favorites that have been around for a while, and perhaps there's an element that they don't like when somebody comes up really, really quick and they're picking up momentum and they're winning all of these shows. And it's kind
a
of
loyalty
like,
element almost.
what can I pick at here? You know, what can I nip at? What? But in fact, like she's actually bang on, really.
Yeah.
But people have their favorites of Ashley's been around a while and they think, right, Ashley, amazing, GOAT, that is the winner essentially, but it's not the case. So hopefully people start, you know, favoriting Amy just as much now. Because the judging doesn't lie. Do you know the kind of way?
No,
It really
I
does.
think it's more about just being objective. I mean, we all have our favorites. I absolutely adore Amy's physique. I really, really do. Like she walks out on stage and I'm instantly drawn to her. And that's a natural, like, sort of human response to this. Like it's an aesthetically driven sport. You're talking about what draws the eye. That's the very nature of what this is, built within like a criteria of like specification in terms of how you're showing up. But it's a lot of criticism to take on board for somebody who is demonstrating time in and time out that the judges are awarding her physique because she is nailing it. So it'd be nice more than anything for them to just as athletes on the whole, like you can be critical in a sort of objective standpoint in terms of where they're placing, but to be specific and keep driving that message home, like she's getting the feedback from the judges, she's winning these shows, like that's it. That's the top and bottom of it.
Yeah.
It really is. But yeah, it was amazing to see her win.
Yeah, she's just fab.
Deserved. Like deserved.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I've seen quite a few other podcast episodes recently, been listening along and people have been reviewing the show and things like that. And she is just so consistent. She's very similar to Ashley in that regard. I think it's like she is like these girls at the top, like after the show, like they're not going ham. They're literally staying on point, on plan. They're keeping their physique in a good responsive state. And so that's why they're able to like go from show to show, because their body is where it needs to be. And they're not at that point where they need time out, if that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, you can see that she consistently shows up every time. Posing, physique, just she's beautiful as well. Like you said, Jade, your eyes are just drawn to her, like when she comes out. So yeah.
I know.
I
I think her and Jamie, sorry, Grace, her and Jamie have just nailed it since last year, like the Wasatch Pro. So I know she's done the same run this time around. So she's done Wasatch, then she's done Pittsburgh, I'm sure, and she's doing New York. I'd be very surprised if she didn't to defend a title. But since last year, I think they've just consistently been on the money.
Yeah. And like we were speaking about even earlier, like with your prep, Marnie, I think she said herself in an interview that she just felt really fresh as well going into this prep. She felt really, really good. And it shows definitely.
Yeah, she's got a sparkle about her on this stage, especially like just the confidence. She's absolutely exuding it. You can see it in her posing, the way she's moving, the smile, like everything.
Like I have her top 3, but I honestly could see her winning it at the Olympia this year, to be honest with you.
I think it's going to be damn close.
It's really difficult because I think, and this is something I've had to remind myself of as well, is like, you know, some of the, like, let's be honest, like Jennifer Dory, like when she's not competing right now, and it's one of those where like at the Olympia, when people show up that haven't been on stage all year and then they get put next to people, that's when it's like, oh, we had someone winning, but actually now so and so's come back and yeah, she's gonna win. Do you know what I mean? It's
I look at Amy's physique and I prefer it over Jen's personally.
Yeah.
That might be a big thing to say, or maybe it's a case that we just see Amy's more often as well. We've more time to actually like it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then when Jen comes out, it's like, wow. But I personally just love her physique, and I think it could be between the two of them this year.
Yeah. If Amy comes in like this, especially, I think that like she's being awarded every single show because she's getting it right. Her and Jamie are getting it right. So it'd be very interesting because like Jen came in phenomenally at the last Olympia, but we've seen it before where Laura Lee, for example, has placed outside of the top 5 because the peak's just not been right. And all it takes is for one of these girls to be 1% off. And like that's how small the margin is between the girls. Like all it takes is for somebody to show up but not quite be there. And it's anybody's for the taking.
Yeah.
I love Maria.
Yeah, we'll go into the placings now. So
yeah.
Amy, I think we hype her up all the time, don't we? Like
yeah. Christian's always in our DMs.
Yeah, Christian. We love her on the pod. So second place we had
Ashley Cole.
Ashley, sorry, yeah, not Vanya. Let's pull up Ashley here.
Actually, looking at the scores there as well, I think Amy scored a 4, didn't she? What was the scorecard for Ashley? Did we see?
I think it was a 1 point difference.
That was 1 point. Do you have any comparison photos? Maybe is it on NPC?
A little bit further along.
Have you guys seen Tyler's breakdown?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we mentioned obviously the walk, and that's what it came down to, which
splitting hairs, like literally splitting hairs.
Crazy.
And this is the thing, like if you look at them, so like side by side, especially, it helps that they're all in red suits as well. Can we all say that? Like I absolutely love the red. Team red.
I'm just gonna advocate for the blondes here. I think she's absolutely stunning on the left.
Oh, Brittany Gillespie.
Really,
I think she's stunning, and it's amazing to see a blonde up there. Like, honestly, gives us hope. There's never any blondes in the big.
Britt had some time out. I'm sure she had some time out. She wasn't too well, was she? I think it was on the back of a prep. She had quite a difficult like reverse, or I think it was health complications. It wasn't recently, maybe a year ago. I could be wrong, but I remember following her on Instagram, and I think some things went wrong around the back end of one of her preps. So it's nice to see her back up there.
Yeah,
she's qualified for the Olympia.
Yeah,
incredible.
So it's
the
cool.
density in her glutes.
Yeah, I know. All of them.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Right. How do you do it?
And we talk about Valeria. We'll go from left.
Yes.
Valeria, we got any quick?
There's a comparison. She's on the far right. I mean, she out like as in like height wise as well. That we've seen her on US stages so frequently. She's qualified for the Olympia so frequently, and she gets lost amongst these girls. And the work that her and James have done in the last year to get her up against this lineup in the first call out in a US show, hats off to you both. Like the improvements, the fullness, because she had the physique, she had the frame. I think she was just lacking the fullness and like that extra tissue when it came to competing against the likes of Ashley and Maureen and Amy. Like, she was just being lost, especially with a height. It's difficult to pack that kind of muscle on for a taller athlete, but I've never been more impressed by somebody stepping out on stage than I was when I saw her. Like, it was not
Ashley, because I remember her front shot was always like, wow, really, really stood out. Whereas when she turned to the back, she just couldn't really compete, and now she is competing like a lot denser in the glutes.
I think
because her legs are so long, like that was a hard thing when she turned around. Is her just long legs, and her glutes weren't developed enough, but it definitely is matching a lot more balance now. Sick.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think the US coaches are very specific with their girls about like their styling choices as well. So I just want to say, obviously, you know, her working with James now, like I think it's clear to see that like he's had a say in the bikini choice as well, because I'm sure we've seen her compete in like ombre suits quite frequently, but also with like the gold connectors and the extra bits of jewelry and stuff like that. And
the like dangled bracelet as well that she was wearing quite frequently. Yeah.
And I just think like those little finishing touches, again, make a world of difference. Like, yes, the physique, but even if she brought the physique and there was still something not quite right, it would draw attention, especially at a show like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because she was wearing, because Ivy Iskander does it a lot. Ivy wears the ombre suits and things like that. And I know it's a very European, almost like the old IFBB elite type of like sort of, because I know it from a European entry level. We've spoken to Alison about it before. Like, her first exposure was the IFBB elite, and then she went into the NPC. So their exposure to their sort of competitive like introduction, if you like, is very much that style where there's a lot of freedom with the accessories, a lot of freedom with the types of suits, and they're very popular out there. But like you said, you get on an Olympian stage, and if the Olympians aren't wearing it, you don't wear it, simply put, because you're going to stand out for the wrong reasons. But no, she looked, I was so impressed. She's put, I think it was James who shared a check-in picture of her perhaps like just before the show on Instagram, and she looked stacked.
Her upper body is quite big. I know I touch on her height all the time, but it balances it out. Like this kind of muscle on a smaller frame on you, Marnie, would be far too much. Like those kind of delts, you'd almost be you'd be figure. But because she's so tall, like it's bikini, it's incredible. And that's why people need to just like remove, I suppose, these like one way of thinking, like black white. It's like, no, it's how it suits the physique and her height as well. And the way her body is.
Like do you see, so obviously Val is on like the left, and then you've got like Maria Acosta, who is like just one in from the right. If you remove the four in the middle and look at the difference in how much muscle they've got, like I am pretty much the same height as Maria, and I was stood next to her last year because obviously alphabetical order. Like what you've just said there, Grace, like that is the difference in height, in how much muscle the girls need to fill out a frame that's that tall.
People could look at this and be like, oh, that's two different classes almost. It's just so different, like the height thing and how compact. And that's what I love about your physique, man. You were even saying about like, you know, being bubbly and always being full. Like, not saying it's easier, but it's just harder as a taller individual to kind of fill out as well. You get that springy look super, super easy.
It is,
So it's just incredible how different physiques work.
I think looking at the two of them now, actually, like in this comparison, especially, I know they're not sort of stood side by side, but I think my eye's quite drawn to Valeria's like shoulder cap. She's very, very, very full. I think Maria's edged her on that balance in terms of fullness top to bottom. If you were to split her at like midsection, I feel like Maria's slightly more balanced in terms of fullness in that respect. But yeah, her physique, comparably to the way that she's presented previously on US stages, compared to the way she's presented with James now, like there's a big gap that they've covered in a very short space of time. Big gap. But those back shots. I just
Oh,
love.
the glutes. The
I
glutes.
know.
And one thing I suppose just touching on Amy again, and I watched Tyler's video only like an hour or so ago before I came on the podcast, but I'd already seen Amy's videos and stuff. And I thought, and obviously Marnie, you can touch on this with the posing, but like she's really sitting into that hip more than I've ever seen before. Like, and I'd like to know that, like, I think that I know Amy's physique quite well and how she poses, and I've never really seen her push into her glute that much. Even on the comparisons, I don't know, was she doing it on purpose, maybe because she was up against Ashley, but it was like really, really rotating and sitting into it, and she has good glutes anyway. So that was one thing I think just like for me stood out poorly. I don't think she needed to do that at all. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, she could be stood up a lot taller through like almost like pulling up through the midsection as opposed to, like you say, sitting in the glute. She has the development there. That's sometimes what a lot of, like, again, more so in the amateurs, I would say, girls who maybe don't quite have the muscle development to a certain area, it's like they'll try and like overly pose something to make it look like they're more muscular, if that makes sense. So like an example there would be sitting into your hip to pull the glute round and to kind of make it pop a bit more, or bending in the knee a little bit more to give yourself a bit more hamstring or something like that. But I think Amy's changed her front pose a few times since the Olympia, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure I've watched other videos that Tyler's done about how, you know, they asked her to change her front pose, it didn't work, and then she changed it back and stuff like that. So she's had quite a few tweaks to that specifically over the last few months.
From a feedback standpoint. I mean, I wonder as well, like coming up against the likes of Vanya, I know in terms of sort of structurally, they're not too comparable. Like Vanya's got a beautiful structure, but like Amy's quite distinctively different in terms of a sort of her X frame, if you like. I know we don't use that frame as that term as such, but she is quite sort of broad across the shoulders. But Vanya's incredibly full in that upper glute. So I wonder if it was a tactic, perhaps, knowing she's coming up against the likes of Vanya, know she's coming up against the likes of Ashley, who's had time off and she's looking very fresh. I wonder if it's a tactic just to make sure that that upper outer glute is really popping from the front. Because Vanya's got a gorgeous, like, sort of fullness from the front in that glute. Really, really nice. So it could be tactics, perhaps.
Vanya, because we haven't actually pulled up her physique, sorry.
It's her posing for me.
Oh,
It's so individual.
stunning.
It's so
Stunning.
individual and it's so seamless. And you really get her personality as well.
Confidence.
She's a real performer.
See, look at that fullness there.
And this kind
Crazy.
of transition as well. Like, I think you have to have a lot of balls to do that. You say you do it a lot, didn't we?
When she does the step and twirl at the back, just unreal. Again,
that's some balance.
like posing on that carpet, man. It's really, it's no joke. Watch this bit here. Boom. Yeah. I love it.
She's been practicing, all right.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Do you know what I like about it as well? Like Laura Lee was criticized quite heavily for like changing her posing routine at the Olympia. Some people thought that it was a little bit too wellnessy, a little bit too more flamboyant, but you watch Vanya's and she's got like an element of it. Like it's not as maybe extravagant as like the wellness girls are doing, but there's more character there. And I think the girls should be encouraged to do that because like we're talking about a walk that distinguished Ashley and Amy in terms of who won. So if your walk matters, then where's your personality? What's making you stand out versus the next person? Like be creative and be individual because that's what's going to draw people's eye.
It is.
As
long as it doesn't take away from the physique or make a distraction or you risk anything going wrong. I remember
have that wow factor. Like we talk about it all the time, but you because at the end of the day, like in a pro show, every single person that's there has won a pro card. Every single person is an elite athlete. So what are you going to do that's going to make the judges and the audience go, wow, who is that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what it's about at this level, I think,
Yeah.
personally.
No,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. No
Yeah.
backflips.
You don't want to
but,
be
like,
vanilla, you know.
but that's it. Like, I mean, we've said it before about Ashley's posing. Like, I know she's done a lot of work with the posing with Phoebe and things like that historically, and even Ashley's got that funk to her posing. You know, it's Ashley because she's got a little bit of a kink that makes her her. And I just think it's important to. It's important to bring yourself to stage as best you can, like obviously within the parameters of what you need to display and nothing too wild, but you have to bring yourself, because that's the out of what, an 18, 20, 23 week prep, that's your opportunity to shine. Do it.
Yeah.
Makes a difference. Makes a difference.
How do we, I know you're a big fan of Vanya, Marnie, but how do you feel her glutes contend up against Amy's?
Yeah, so it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think, like you said, she's definitely got pop. She's definitely got a roundness there. I think more so perhaps on the tie-in area, like the tie-ins, I don't know, maybe there could be a bit more projection.
Yeah.
I love like the hands there, like that
The
explains
best way to describe
perfectly.
it.
You're
Like,
watching on YouTube, she's trying to pull at her insertions, pull them out.
Yeah. 4D.
I mean, like, even if I know obviously Maria Acosta was one place in lower than Vanya, but if you, like, again, remove everyone else from this image and you look at those two, Maria has slightly deeper etched tie-ins, but again, could that be why she placed fourth? Because it's too much. Again, it's one of those, isn't it? Hard, like,
I think it might be a degree too lean,
too
because
much
you can
there.
really see the sort of, they want the insertion but not the
Separation.
the full like cut. I think that's been the difference there. But then equally, like you said with Vanya, like they're not quite as detailed as the likes of Amy and Ashley.
Yeah.
I think Tara has an amazing back shot, by the way. Tara Greer, like,
yeah,
again, like, it's not too much, like,
no,
it's bikini. Obviously she was given feedback previously about needing to add a bit more size to her legs, just to give a bit more balance again. But yeah, what do you guys think of Tara?
Oh,
I really
love her
like
body as
Tara.
well. I know we always talk about glutes, but we love a bit of back still. We do. And I think
Even though we don't see it, we like it.
saying, huh?
Even though we don't see it, we still love it.
Yeah, still love it. Still appreciate the work. It's
Yeah.
there. But
The
I know
V-taper is
so
impressive though. The V-taper in the back pose
Yeah.
there from her, you can see that. Like,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and to be honest as well, like her quads do look more shapely from that back shot. They do look more shapely, perhaps not as much as sort of Vanya and Ashley and Amy, but they are coming, like the focus is slightly less away from just her glutes, because she's got incredibly strong glutes. So
Yeah.
I think even a touch more quad, and I mean a touch like it's a hairline, it might even be a fullness thing, but just bringing that shape from the back, just so that it flows a little bit more, so that the glutes aren't as profound. But yeah, I think she's got structurally, she's probably one of the strongest on stage.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I reckon so.
Yeah. Yeah. Have we gone through everybody? Is there anybody else we want to shout out?
Mention India.
Yeah, India, Paulina. Yeah.
Absolute
Paulina?
OG.
No.
It's crazy because I think as well, like, maybe some of the listeners have not been in the industry perhaps for as long as we have. I don't know about you guys as well, but like she's won the Arnold, she's won so many. The only title she hasn't won, I believe, is Miss Bikini Olympia.
Yeah.
She's won the Pittsburgh Pro twice. She's the only person inside of Amy,
3-time Arnold Classic as well.
Yeah. And
India's
been in the mix
gorgeous
for a while, like obviously not as high up as Ashley, but she's been in the game, like she's been with keeping up with Bikini and how it's evolving as well, which is impressive.
Yeah.
She's a bit like Angelica in that respect as well. I know obviously Angelica's got the Olympia titles as well, but she's been in there as long as Angelica, if not longer, because I'm sure Angelica said that India was one of the first bikini athletes that she sort of paid attention to and saw her physique and thought, no, I want to do that. Or it could have been Maureen, actually, one of them. We've spoken to them, and they've said India Polino's like physique was the one that they were drawn to, and that's what brought them into the sport. She's been there a long time, and she's like Ashley. She stands the test of time in that she's managed to keep up with the development of the class, and still be relevant and still be seen. Yeah,
not met as many physique updates as we'd like.
Please post.
I don't think anyone really knew she was doing Pittsburgh. It was a bit more of like a surprise to see her name on the list, and alongside some other girls as well, like Alexandria Ross, for those of you that know who she is as well. Like again, I think there was quite a few names on there that like no one really expected to see.
It's interesting that as well, because they're having to it's signed contracts now. Nobody can drop into a show anymore, can they? I'm sure Paul was saying that it's very much contractual based now. You cannot just show up at a show. I'm sure Ashley is livid.
I love that though. I think that's fair.
Yeah, they're being very strict about that now. So you have to have signed your contract on the Monday of the week of the show.
Okay.
And then obviously they release the list, I think, the following day on the Tuesday, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think another shout out as well, Ariana Brothers.
Oh,
I know.
Where is she in the lineup, Jade?
I think she might have been second call outs. I could be wrong. Probably have to get back onto the. I think it was a conditioning thing for Ari personally.
Oh yeah.
I think it was a conditioning thing. Like Paul's already said, they've got the feedback, but she absolutely took the Olympia by storm. And I don't think for a minute we've seen the back of her. Not even close. No. She's another one who I think could be breaking top 5 at the Olympia very soon, if not this year, but definitely next year.
Yeah.
100%.
And she's got wow factor. Like she really does. Very striking look, like dark hair, red suit.
Yeah. Very beautiful. Yeah. I'm going back to the hairdressers. I've literally been there today. I'm going getting it all dark.
That was literally me when I competed in 2022. Black.
It's worse than breakup hair. It's like, right, no, I need new hair for stage.
Yeah, literally.
You did it though, didn't you, Marnie? You completely changed your look. Because you spoke about it when you won your pro card. You completely changed your look.
Things we do for bikini, guys. Obviously.
I'm so glad I'm
breaking our backs, posing, like honestly.
Yeah.
Dyeing
the
our
life
hair.
chose us, guys. The life chose us. It's okay.
Yeah. But
no, Ariana Brothers and Brittany Hamilton as well. Like
she's another one. Unreal. Brittany Hamilton actually, well, she messaged me and said that she's been told she needs to downsize a bit. So I find it really interesting because she was literally top 2 at the Wasatch Warrior next to Amy, and then has obviously gone to Pittsburgh and has been told, you know, maybe she's too big. I did ask, was there an area specifically, but she hasn't replied to that message. So I don't know if it was from head to toe or if there was a certain area on her physique that was too big. But she's again just got such a beautiful look, man, and she's tall, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the lineup in the first call outs, the only standout really in terms of height is Valeria. So maybe that's another thing as well. We've spoken about it, I think, when Jake was on the podcast. Like you stand against different girls and you stand up against a different lineup, and your height can impact whether you place or not. If you're looking heavier and denser and bigger on the whole versus the lineup, it's going to be difficult. But I mean, it could even be a matter of getting her that little bit leaner and a little bit flatter so that she doesn't look as imposing.
Potentially. Yeah.
I
think so. I was thinking as well, a little bit leaner and flatter.
Because she's got the muscle to manipulate.
Yeah. Is this in slow motion? I think it is. She's posing very slow. I think it's a tiny bit in slow motion, or else it's my laptop. But yeah, she's stunning. Just a lot of tissue. And I remember with Paul's updates like this year thinking, wow, oh my God. That's why as a tall individual, like you have to kind of keep up like that muscle size, but she's stunning as well.
She did the Pittsburgh Pro last year when I did it, and I met her in person, and I remember like I don't think she didn't compete after that. That was like her last show of the year, and she took the whole year off. And I can imagine that that's really quite like disheartening in a way, because she's obviously gone away and done a lot of work to then, maybe be told that she, like you say, she does need to downsize. But I don't know, again, it's just it's part of the sport. Like these are the nuances at this level. And again,
you just gotta grow, assess, and like we said to Jake on the podcast, like not do anything too fast, because it's going to be so much like it's not going to look right packing on the tissue in a short frame, and it's going to be very difficult to lose it. So I think even in your example, Marnie, and like loads of athletes we see like taking your time with it, doing the show, getting the feedback, and just not rushing it, because you don't want to get to a stage where they're like, oh, you're too big, or your look is off because you've just built muscle in the wrong places. So take your time with it.
Yeah,
I think that's the difference. Go on, Marnie. No, you go.
I was gonna say, like, part of me, like, I've talked about this on my Instagram, like there have been some mind games about getting on stage for me personally this year, and thinking that I'm actually maybe not big enough in the glutes or whatever. But again, like you've just said there, like I kind of just need to get on stage in order to make, like, I can't make that assumption yet, because I'll only know when I'm actually up there next to the girls. And again, oh, here we go.
She's up.
While we wrap up the podcast, why not? Let's look at you.
Yeah, man, it's obviously I don't look like that currently. That was, oh, there we go. That was 3 hours ago.
I think this is stunning though, and like this is not me being biased because we're close, but like I think because you've taken the time to build the muscle, it looks so pretty on you. It really does. Like you have pretty muscle, and like Jade and I look at physiques all the time. Like we've been analyzing the sport for however long. Like you see physiques, and it's just the muscle has not been built right, and it looks off, and it's not bikini.
It goes on, and it looks dense, and it looks hard, and it looks firm,
it could be even like brainy looking, and like yours is like good tissue. It's healthy tissue as well that has been built over a long period of time. And I even said on the podcast, with someone who's like passionate about the sport and passionate about the game of it all, and not just doing it like to rush it. We could go into the depths of all that, but it is true. Like I think your muscle is very, very pretty looking on your frame. So stop getting in your head, because I think you look great.
It's one. I think again, like obviously us girls, like when it's that time of the month, sometimes we overthink more, and that doesn't go away when you're in prep. But I would say I'm pretty good at kind of just switching it off most of the time. Like prep just sort of runs itself on autopilot in the background. But me and Jake are being very meticulous. Like we're on daily check-ins. I've still got like 3 months pretty much until I actually do get on stage. I'm planning on getting on stage in August time. And I'm going to do the NPC European, which obviously will be in London this year. So that's exciting.
We'll be front row.
Woo! Yeah. I mean, Tyler's the head judge, so it'll be silly not to get up there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but
just ride him at home. But I mean, I've worked on so many things. I've really leveled up my posing again. Constantly tweaking things like pretty much every day when I go in the posing room to see what looks good, what I need to change. And like I said before, like the nerves and things like that, they will just dissipate with time. It's like being a first timer all over again.
Literally. Oh,
it's just exposure. It's exposure, Marnie. Like you did the hard bit. And you chucked yourself in the deep end. Like I said before, it can't get much worse than that. It really can't. Now. You know exactly what to expect. And each show will have its nuances anyway. But at least you know exactly what things are like out there, how it runs, how show day, how you're expected to present yourself where you're supposed to be at any given time, like that isn't going to come as a shock to you anymore. Will the nerves ever completely disappear? Probably not, but will you feel more prepared than you did that season? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think as well, the nerve thing, a lot of it is like I said, you know, being around people that like I follow on Instagram and have followed them for years, and like the judges, because we look up to everyone in the pro league. It's not just the athletes, but also like, you know, like the Manions and stuff, and what
the promoters, the judges,
the platform that they've created. And so I think, you know, I will be honest as well, like, again, when no one knows who you are, that also makes you feel a little bit like, oh, like, especially because everybody is kind of hanging out backstage, and you know, you're sort of like there on the sidelines as like the rookie. But there are some people in the sport, like amazing pros, that have, you know, started following me on Instagram, and like I've got a little friendship with Angelica now as well, and like she looked over my posing at the Arnold's, and she even said to me, she was like, why are you not doing the UK Arnold's? I wanted to be on stage with you. And I'm like, Angelica, that's not how it works. I need to win a pro show first. But like, it's really nice to
feel the vote of confidence, but
it's really nice to feel like included and part of something. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
She's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human being as well. She's probably one of my favorite pros ever. I think that girl walks and talks like a champion. In whether she's a mother, whether she's wiping her baby's bums, or whether she's on that stage, that woman is a champion. I absolutely adore her. I do. I adore her story. But no, New York Pro as well.
Yeah. So
Can we throw
I was listening to Tyler's, or somebody had said on Instagram that there's not as big of a lineup for the New York Pro. So is there any names been released? Is it this weekend?
I think there's only 12 girls, and I think we've got Amy, we've got Valeria, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name. We've also, I'm not sure, I feel like the list is on NPC News. Shall I quickly check?
Is Ari doing it? Ariana Brothers?
She's out. Brittany Hamilton's out, because I assume they're going away to like work on their feedback. And then come back better.
I wonder if Vanya's going to do it again, because she's having a really good run at the minute.
We've got do you remember there was a girl called Emmy, and she competed in a small girl, red suit, coached by Jamie as well. She's competing, and I think she will be a contender because she's got a beautiful physique as well. And then Lisa Reith is actually competing as well, so that's cool.
That'll be nice to see. Because we haven't seen her since the UK Arnold's.
No other names I recognize, so
I did see a video of Lisa's posing, and I was like, I don't know if she's going to be posing like that on stage. I'm sure Marnie will probably see it, but I wasn't a fan. I was like, God, that is risky to bring that kind of posing over to the US.
What was this? Sorry?
Lisa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Actually, she competed at the UK Arnold's, didn't she, as well? I do remember seeing that, actually, and I did think, like, it's a difficult one, because again, like a lot of the European girls, they want to bring that like different expression that's them and it's their thing and they've done it for years or whatever. But I think the reality is, like, we keep coming back to it, but like you've got to earn your stripes in the pro league, and like in the US bikini market, if they're not doing it, there's a reason why. So I'm just a believer in like following what they do on the Olympia stage, top 5, top 10, and creating your own spin on that. That is the standard that I hold to myself. Like, you'll never see me doing any of the European sort of posing things that they do. You know, but personal preference, isn't it?
Yeah. I think when you've got that kind of sort of notoriety, like Laura Lee, like we were talking about, like there was mixed reviews around her posing, like you've got that notoriety, you're Laura Lee, you can pretty much get away with anything to a degree. But even then, like there's still instances where Laura Lee suffered if her physique hasn't come in quite on point or whatever. So nobody's completely immune to it. But I think with that notoriety, maybe you can be a little bit experimental, but standing on that kind of pedestal, you've got the room to do it when you're trying to make a name for yourself and stand out in the right ways.
Rocky
boat.
They're setting the trend almost. It's like Yeah,
Don't
you
try
can't
to
really like
reinvent the
set the
wheel.
trend yourself
Yes.
when you're not that high up yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great example of that as well, like from a styling standpoint. Again, you guys probably noticed this small attention to detail like me because you just love this stuff. But Amy Delgado wearing a hair slide, and it
Yes.
was like quite like you could tell it was there. It was like, you know, it had jewels on it, and she wore it last year in Pittsburgh and won with the hair slide in. She wore it at finals, and I'm sure she's spoken about the fact that, like, you know, they kind of did it as a last minute thing to pull her hair out of her face, and now it's become a thing. But again, like, it's Amy Delgado, like, she's created somewhat of a trend, like maybe a new trend, I don't know, but I say that to a lot of my posing girls, like, don't try and do anything crazy with your hair, like, don't have like half up, half down, like, just go for what the federation wants, what the judges want to see.
Yeah. Because if your physique's going to carry you, if you pretty much nailed everything else, then those tiny details aren't going to stand out for the wrong reasons. But if you're not quite there yet, if you're not quite Amy, then and I wish I was talking to a million of you, but the reality of it is this sport is designed for individuals with that kind of genetic potential, and some of us, 90% of us, are simply not going to be Amy, and we're not. So it's nice, by all means, experiment, especially in an amateur sort of setting. Do it whilst you've got a little bit of room. But if your goal is to be on a pro stage, if your goal is to be a pro athlete and come up against these girls, emulate.
Yeah.
Emulate.
So true.
100%.
Anything
Mic
else?
drop.
That is
I think so.
Hopefully we've stirred the pot a little bit for people on YouTube to be like, I don't agree.
Oh,
but like, as always, like we say, these opinions are our own. And if anybody has any comments, like, do let us know. We'll be happy to chat about them. We all I think we've learned that bikini is being interpreted very differently amongst the listeners, like, so.
Yeah, it's nice to have the feedback, and like we love to read it, guys. Like, whether it be positive, whether it be challenging, I wouldn't say any of it's negative, but whether it's a challenging viewpoint or whether it's an agreeing viewpoint, like, let us know, because at the end of the day, it's a sport that is made for interpretation and opinion. That's what we're doing. So hit us with it.
Amazing. Marnie, anything you want to say? Redirect people for your posing? You still taking on clients?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, so
Log.
well, one thing I will say is, guys, if anybody wants any help with posing related stuff, please get in sooner rather than later, because I will, you know me, I will cap my numbers, especially when I get close to show. I will be closing my roster, and that time is coming soon. So, you know, my current girls are my priority. So if you're in the door and we're already started, then, you know, that's fine, because we can lay foundations now. So yeah, anyone that wants help, just head to rocketposing.com. I don't know if you guys can leave a link or something maybe in the show.
Yeah, we'll whack it in there.
Wouldn't trust anybody else.
Non-related posing stuff, if you just want to follow me and see my amazingly boring life, it's just posing videos on my story, as you've seen.
We love it.
I will be
and some doggo content recently, which I love.
And
you're going to be back on the YouTube, I hope.
Yeah. So
I say that to you all the time.
I know. I need to do more, to be fair. Like, people say this to me, they're like, oh, you need a podcast, or you need to do YouTube. But yeah, I mean, hats off to you both, because it is hard graft, like putting out this frequent content and stuff. So I'm a listener as well. So yeah, I will definitely be on YouTube. Like, I know all my YouTube subscribers love a show day video, so we've got some of that coming this year. Keep your eyes peeled.
You know what? We know you're looking at your suit tomorrow. Why don't you vlog tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, if the people want to see,
and I know you have your seminar soon as well. Like, I used to just get my phone out, record it all. Like, people love to see it. So
I know. Do you know what? I've got a perfectly good camera right here, and it's collecting dust.
I was gonna say, and I think Grace is missing a trick here. She's plugging. Like, you're missing a trick here. You've got ready-made plug PA.
I'm your biggest fan. Your biggest YouTube fan.
Come
I feel like
on.
I just need someone to follow me around 24/7 with a camera. But yeah, I will
Sold. I'll
definitely
quit my
document
job.
more of my prep. I will be doing that because it's good for people to see, you know, how things unfold and especially like the travel and that sort of thing, because I will be traveling for shows as well. So
Yeah.
Last question.
100%.
Are you posing anybody exciting this year that you can tell us about or no?
Yeah, I've got, well, everyone kind of knows I have a few pros on my roster. So I've been helping Carly Thornton with her posing routine, which is unbelievable because she is an absolute industry OG. Obviously she originally competed in women's physique division and now she is in the wellness category. She competed at the Olympia twice, so to have her come to me for pose and help is a complete dream come true. And yeah, we've made some really, really nice adjustments already. So we're just keeping in contact. She's competing at the Chicago Pro in 8 weeks, I think. So
Amazing.
that's going to be exciting. And Danny Pickstock in wellness as well, both wellness girls actually. Yeah, she's doing her pro debut very soon. She's in prep right now. So she's been with me literally from end of 2021. So that's how consistent we are with our posing. Like it's a continuation. It doesn't matter whether you're in prep, off season, like we've had this routine sort of locked in for the last few months now. And again, it's just the little tweaks as someone gets leaner. So I'm excited to get her on stage and see how it all looks, and then obviously make further adjustments going into more shows. So yeah.
Big your head. Can't wait.
Buzzing.
Thank you
Oh,
so much
insane.
for coming on and sharing your thoughts, honestly.
Yeah, always. I honestly, I love it so much because you guys force me to come on here and talk to people. And to be fair, like I do get like odd message here and there saying like, oh wow, like I didn't realize like, you know, that there's so much detail that goes into this, or the posing or the styling, and like it almost like shocks people. And I'm like, yeah, like we live and breathe this. It's not just like, oh yeah, any old bikini and whoever's got the biggest glutes or whatever. Like it's so much more than that. So much more than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on. And if you ever need another guest, just hit me up.
We love it. We love it. No, thank you so much for your time, because I know how precious it is, especially in prep, especially getting ready. So yeah, thank you, Marnie, as always.
Thank you.
Welcome.